This has legitimately become the coolest thing that I own. When I first set out to make this video, I was expecting to make like a 6-minute long video where I tell you guys, yeah, it's a cool product and all, but it's just not worth the money. And now I realize that I could talk about this for an hour and still not touch on everything that this lightsaber has to offer. I mean, just aside from all of the many preset settings, this thing even lets you create your own lightsaber sounds? It's insane. Now, whether it's worth the money or not, we'll talk about later on in the video. But first, I want to be sure to thank Damien Saber for sending this lightsaber over for review. They have tons of different hilt options, and if after watching this review you decide, you know what, maybe I do want to pick up one of these Damien Sabers, use promo code CrazyDog at checkout to get 5% off your order. If you're as much of a Star Wars fan as I am, you will like this a lot. So let's dive in and see what this lightsaber has to offer. Spoiler alert, there's a lot. So if you order a lightsaber from Damien Sabers, the first thing that you're going to see is, well, of course, the box. There's a cool design on the front of the box. I mean, it looks nice and it looks sleek, but I can't really show it to you guys. The reason for that being because that's where all the shipping labels got put, and removing those shipping labels kind of destroyed the front of the box. But that's okay, because if you're like me, you really only care about what's on the inside anyways. Here you can see our lightsaber blade up at the top, 2 boxes labeled Saber Hilt, and a box labeled Accessories. In our first box, the Saber Hilt box, you would find, as you might expect, the Saber Hilt. It's nice and protected in this plastic wrap. I imagine that if you're watching this video, then you probably know how to remove plastic wrap from an object, but in case you don't, here is a video of me doing it right now, and well, now you know, you learn something new every day. The Saber Hilt looks fantastic. I mean, it's modeled after a Lego piece. It's already got points going for it, right? But no, yeah, super shiny, super pristine. I'm really happy with how this looks right out of the box, and that is the only thing in this box. In the lightsaber box labeled Accessories, you will find a multitude of items, including the Allen wrenches and screws to secure the hilt to the blade, an owner's manual with instructions on how to use the lightsaber, battery charger, you know, all the good stuff, everything that you would expect to find in a box labeled Accessories for a lightsaber. Now, also in the large box was another small box labeled Saber Hilt, and this box is actually completely empty. If you look at the way that this was packaged, I have to imagine that it's just put there to keep the actual Saber Hilt box from jostling around during shipment. Now, as for the blade, it is also covered in a protective plastic wrapping, as well as a small rubber cap on the bottom to protect the conductive component of the NeoPixel blade that connects back into the hilt. Now again, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you know how to remove plastic from an object, but in case you don't, here is another tutorial. Yeah, that's right. You didn't even realize that this was a 2-for-1 deal. You thought that you were clicking on a lightsaber review, when in fact you were clicking on a lightsaber review that also doubles as a plastic removing tutorial. If that isn't worth hitting the subscribe button for, then I really don't know what is. Now, the actual assembly process for the lightsaber is really straightforward and pretty easy to carry out, but it's also, I think, really ingenious. So I've had other brands of lightsabers before, and, you know, once you insert the blade into the hilt, you'll secure it in with some small screws. Here on this lightsaber, you actually secure it with 2 layers of screws, so there are 8 screws total, but only 4 holes for the screws to go in. Now, the reason why I love that design so much is just because it's going to happen. The screws are going to come loose. Over the course of play, you're spinning the lightsaber around, the screws start rotating in their threads, they start to come loose. That's just how it naturally happens. Doubling up on the screws doesn't completely prevent that from happening, but it does stop it from happening so quickly, and I really appreciate that. Anyways, that's enough about the assembly. Let's talk about actually operating the lightsaber. Now, the actual operation is where I start to have a little bit of an issue with the product. Yes, it did just say app connected. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. Now, part of why I say I have an issue with the operation of the lightsaber is just because since there are so many different settings that this thing has, actually sitting down and learning the controls is quite the time investment. Once you get the hang of it, it's a worthwhile investment, but it's an investment nonetheless. And I would be lying if I told you that the learning curve wasn't at all frustrating. You'll be trying to change the color of the lightsaber and accidentally end up changing the sound, or vice versa, or maybe you're just trying to figure out how to turn the thing on and you just keep changing the volume setting. And the whole time you just have no idea what's going on. And yes, it does come with an operations manual with a list of instructions on how to operate all the controls, but it's kind of frustrating when you gotta pause every 20 to 30 seconds because there are just so many controls to memorize that you can't remember all of them and you have to say, okay, I already forgot, how am I supposed to get it out of this setting? And yes, there is an app where you can control a lot of these things just from your phone, but at the same time, I'd also prefer to just be able to instinctually press a button to switch settings over, as opposed to pulling out my phone every time I want to change something. But again, it'll only take you a few hours of continuous play with the lightsaber to actually start to figure out, okay, now I get how all the controls work and fit together, which frankly, 4 to 5 hours of an intense learning curve is well worth the trade-off of having the insane level of customizability that this lightsaber offers. So, what kind of a level of customizability are we talking about here? Well, with just your brand new out-of-the-box lightsaber, it offers you 8 ignition types, 8 blade types, 34 different sound fonts, and since this lightsaber uses an RGB color slider, you get a total of 16,777,216 different colors to choose from. All combined, that amounts to over 36.5 billion combinations in the default settings. So when you throw on the fact that this lightsaber actually allows you to record and or download your very own lightsaber noises, it basically becomes infinite. You can have like the most non-canon Star Wars lightsaber ever. In the default lightsaber settings, there are obviously a lot of Star Wars canon lightsaber ignitions and blade types. And I love the fact that they included all of those, but I also really love the fact that they included some ignition types that definitely do not exist in Star Wars canon. You expect it to come with the standard ignition and even this broken ignition type here, but you probably don't expect it to do this. This is just cool. There is most definitely, at least as far as I'm aware, no lightsaber in Star Wars that does that. And there's also most definitely not a lightsaber in Star Wars that turns on like this. You know, it even sounds like the lightsaber is building itself out of glowing Lego bricks. Like, that's just cool. I love it when companies like this can take some creative liberties with how the lightsaber operates and just give you some really cool stuff. Perhaps even cooler, though, is the ability to control all this in the app. This is what the app looks like. You can find it on the App Store by searching up Xenoconfigurate. Now, right off the bat, the interface for this app is so cool. I love the kyber crystal in the center that actually glows the same color as a lightsaber when you turn the lightsaber on. Like, that just makes the app so much fun just to be on, you know? You looking at the inside of a lightsaber with the kyber crystal. Sorry, I'm nerding out here a little bit, but it's really, really cool. And then, of course, you know, you actually have your control panel around the Kyber crystal. You have 4 different tabs at the bottom in total, and on the control panel, I mean, you can read off the control panel for yourself. There are so many things that you can click on and do in the app. The app is also definitely the easiest location where you can change the color of your lightsaber. I mean, you can do it like with the button on the lightsaber and with motion controls too, but it's just so much nicer to do it in the app. Additionally, in the app, this is another location where you can change the sound font of the lightsaber. Now, one thing that I don't particularly like about this section of the app is just that when you have the scrolling font select menu up, like I do right now, the fonts are only labeled with numbers. So instead of scrolling through and seeing the Count's lightsaber, the Senate's lightsaber, the Chosen One's lightsaber, you just see lightsaber number 7, and you're like, okay, I don't know whose lightsaber number 7 is supposed to be. I mean, you know, once you select the font and you exit out of the menu bar, then you see the name of it in the app, but it would be nice if the actual name for the sound font was up on the scroller bar menu. But again, that's more of a minor, like, ease of use type of thing than an actual major problem with the product itself. Now, if you actually go ahead and move into some of these other tabs, this is where you can actually customize the sound of the lightsaber. So in here, you'll see there are a whole bunch of files, and those are all the preset, pre-made lightsaber sound fonts. You can create a new file folder here, and then once you're in your new file folder, then you can go ahead and start creating your own files. You can upload files from, you know, elsewhere on your phone or your computer, or you can just straight up record your own voice for the lightsaber. And I did that. It was a lot of fun, I'll admit. I'm sure that you could tell, but I am kind of a goofy guy. You know, I mean, this is the footage that I took of Yoda's lightsaber sound font, so of course, the moment that I realized that I could use my mouthful to make obnoxious noises, and those same obnoxious noises would leave the hilt of the lightsaber, that was the first thing I did. Like, yeah, of course, Darth Revan's lightsaber is really, really cool, but you gotta admit that having a lightsaber go blah, 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 is also pretty freaking dope. And obviously there are like actual legitimate lightsaber sounds that you can download onto your phone and then upload to the lightsaber from there. I mean, there are some really cool things that you can do. Now, as any longtime viewer of the channel knows, I am a stickler when it comes to durability. And when you've got a lightsaber that you're gonna be going up against somebody else and clashing saber blades together, durability becomes exceptionally important. And I am happy to report that in terms of actual physical durability, this lightsaber does a fantastic job. While I was filming that intro sequence, you know, obviously I do several takes to make sure that I get the best footage possible, and on one of the takes, the lightsaber actually flew out of my hand, flew across the room, and skidded across the hard concrete floor of my basement. And that little ding on the very edge of the bottom of the lightsaber is all that I have to show for it. Like, I was honestly legitimately scared when it flew out of my hands, because it flew out of my hands pretty hard, and I was like, dang it, I haven't even finished filming the intro for this video and I already broke the dang thing. But nope, I went over, I picked it up, turned it on, everything worked just fine. Not only was I immensely relieved that I could continue getting footage for the video, but I was also quite impressed that nothing else happened beyond that little scratch. However, I am less impressed by the quality of the software. At a certain point during filming, I was just, you know, switching between modes to get footage of it, and all of a sudden the lightsaber completely quit on me. I pulled out the app, and no matter what I did, I could not get the lightsaber to turn back on. It had power, I could see the battery level in the app, and the light on the hilt was on, but I couldn't get the volume to change, I couldn't get it to turn on, I couldn't get any sound to come out, and I wasn't even able to get it to actually turn off all the way by holding down the button. So not even the good old turning it off and on again would work. What I ended up doing was just leaving it alone for a day and let the battery drain out, and then I plugged it back in, charged it back up, and everything was working fine again. So just letting the battery drain completely out, did a reboot of the software, and it was all back to normal. Everything was fine and dandy again. I contacted Damien Sabers about the issue, and they said it was probably because I was pushing the button too fast. So that is something good to be aware of, that if you're switching between modes too fast and, pushing the button too fast, it can overload the lightsaber's internal systems. And the only way to fix it is to either let the battery drain out, or you can go take apart the lightsaber hilt, unplug the actual rechargeable battery from the lightsaber, and then plug it back in, and that should also do the same thing. So physical durability, A+. In terms of the software, probably more like a B. So the lightsaber looks great, it feels great, I think it's a very high quality, but the question still remains, is it worth that price tag? So if you're somebody who is already in the market looking for a high quality, really nice dueling grade lightsaber, this is a fantastic option. At that sale price that it's at right now, the $260, this is a really good value in my opinion, and I feel perfectly comfortable recommending it to you if you're somebody who is already looking for a lightsaber like this. If you're somebody who maybe wasn't interested in a NeoPixel lightsaber before watching this video, and now you're kind of on the fence of, yeah, that's kind of cool, I'd like one of those, I would say think about it carefully. $300 is still a lot of money. I am absolutely an impulse buyer, and I would feel really bad if there was an impulse buyer who watched this video, went and bought this lightsaber, and regretted it a few days later because they realized I'm not going to get $300 worth of fun out of this product. Because a really nice lightsaber like this, as cool and as awesome as it is, isn't for everybody. If you're watching this video, chances are you're already a fan of LEGO Star Wars, so I would say weigh the value of this lightsaber against some of the recent LEGO Star Wars releases. For example, you could get the new Juggernaut and the new Chopper for the same price as this lightsaber. So ask yourself, would I get more enjoyment out of the Juggernaut and the Chopper than this lightsaber? And if the answer is yes, then don't purchase the lightsaber. Or maybe you're a big spender and you're eyeing the UCS sail barge. Now you can get two of these NeoPixel lightsabers for a similar price to the sail barge. One for you and one for a friend. So I would ask, are you going to get more enjoyment out of lightsaber duels between you and your friend, or out of the single sail barge? If you look at the sail barge and you think, yeah, building and displaying that would be more enjoyable to me than lightsaber duels, then don't purchase a lightsaber. I guess what I'm trying to say is that even if you think that this lightsaber is cool, and don't get me wrong, it is really cool, I don't want you to feel a sense of FOMO by choosing not to purchase it. If you buy it, you will have fun with it. I can guarantee you that you will enjoy playing with it. But if you could spend the same amount of money and get more enjoyment out of another product, then don't buy this one. I feel like that's definitely a big problem that we see in the LEGO space nowadays, where people see a product talked about online, talked about by their favorite influencers or whatever, and they feel pressured to buy it because of the sense of FOMO that they start to get by watching all the reviews. And if a NeoPixel lightsaber isn't going to be the best bang for your buck, then don't feel FOMO by not buying it. But if you are looking at the current LEGO landscape, which admittedly does feel pretty bleak right now, and you're thinking, nothing really catches my eye, and I do just want to buy something fun for myself, and this lightsaber looks like it would be fun, then go for it. And that's not to mention, I think that this could make a really great gift for a LEGO Star Wars lover as well. I personally feel like I can get fixated on the LEGO part of LEGO Star Wars and forget about all the really cool things that Star Wars has to offer, and I know that I'm not the only one in that boat. So if you know somebody who is absolutely fanatical about LEGO Star Wars, this might be a really great gift for them. I know that some of the best gifts I've ever been given are gifts that get me out of an old hobby and into a new hobby. Granted, LEGO Star Wars collecting and lightsaber swordsmanship are kind of similar just because they both relate to Star Wars, but they're still pretty different hobbies. So I guess my final verdict is, if you're already looking for a lightsaber, this is a really great option. Really good bang for your buck. Highly recommend it. If you're somebody who is maybe looking to start a new hobby, weigh your options first. This could be a really great option for you, but don't be impulsive about it. Don't jump on anything too soon. Thank you for watching this excessively long review. Like I said earlier, I could make this review 3 times as long as it is now and still not touch on everything that this lightsaber has to offer. It is a really cool product.